Hello and welcome to another lesson in the series on Cisco router configuration. In this lesson we will be looking at the starting point of router configuration known as basic configuration. Basic configuration involves giving the router a unique name and setting passwords that are used to control access to the router. Other basic configurations include setting a banner message that displays at login. In the packet tracer diagram on the screen, we will investigate basic router configuration by using a local PC connected to the router via a special serial cable called a console cable. A program called HyperTerminal on the PC is used to communicate over the console cable with router 0. After the console cable is connected between the RS-232 serial port on the PC and the console port on the router, we activate HyperTerminal on the PC. We'll minimize this. I will show you how to access that through Windows XP. We select all programs, accessories, and communications, and there's HyperTerminal. Open that, and the first thing it asks you for is the name of the connection. Give it some name and connect. Check that it says COM1 under connect using, which will be your serial port on the back of the PC. And then we have access to the port settings. The bits per second should be set for 9600 to communicate with a Cisco router. Data bits 8, parity none, stop bits 1, flow control none. And then we say OK to that. And then here's your HyperTerminal screen in which you would view the iOS command line interface. But since this PC is not hooked to anything, we'll close it and look at our simulation. Alright, we will open PC 0 at the desktop, terminal which would be our HyperTerminal screen. Open that and we see the port configuration. Everything looks normal here as it should be, and then answer OK to that. And now we see the command line interface of the router. Down here it says System Configuration Dialog. Continue with Configuration Dialog, yes or no. We will answer no to that. This is just a question that you'll encounter after a router has been started. And then we hit Return to get started. Alright, notice in the lower left corner we have a prompt, router, and greater sign. This is the default mode, called user mode or executive mode. Commands that can be entered in this mode are limited to information gathering only. To enter the next higher mode, called the privileged executive mode, we type enable and hit return. Notice the prompt has changed now to router #. To inform the router we will be using the terminal to configure it, we enter the command configure terminal. And again, notice the prompt has now changed to indicate we are in the configuration mode. This is called the global configuration mode. Configurations that are entered in this mode take effect immediately. So let's go and change our router name. From the global configuration mode, type hostname space and enter some meaningful name you have chosen for the router, like office router. Notice the name change now in the prompt. Instead of just being called router, it is now called office router. Next we will set a password to restrict entry to this privileged executive mode. The command is enable password and then enter your password. We'll give it a password of Cisco. To further protect this password, we will encrypt it by typing another command, enable secret, and enter the same password. We also need to restrict access to the router configuration ports by setting passwords on the console port, which we are connected to at the moment, and the network access port called the VTY port. To do this, type the following commands: line console 0, password Cisco 123, and login. Typing line console 0, you'll notice the prompt changed. What that did was to give us configuration control over this particular console line port. We gave it a password, just chose Cisco 123, doesn't have to be that. And then the command login specifies that it will request or require that you enter the password when you try to log into this port. All right, let's secure the VTY port, which is the remote access to the router via the network. So we will select the correct line, which is going to be our VTY line. And since there are 5 of these virtual terminal lines, we will select them all by typing 0 and then 4. And we'll give it a password. Call it Cisco 456. Could be any password you want. And then we also want this to activate at login. And last, configuring a banner presents a message to the user when they log onto the router. At a minimum, a banner should warn against unauthorized access. The command to configure a banner is banner space MOTD for message of the day. Then use the letter C to before and after the text to delimit the message. Get out of the line configuration mode. Banner MOTD for message of the day, the letter C, and then we'll just give it something here. I'll type some stars. Enter, and then we'll give it a message, no unauthorized users. Enter, and then we'll just highlight that with some more stars. And end with the delimiting character C. And now what we'll do at this point is we will exit out and we will look at the effect of our configurations changes we have made. All right, we will hit enter, and notice the banner, no unauthorized users, and it's also asking for user access verification. So our console port is protected. We must enter the password, which is Cisco 123. And now to enter the the configuration mode, or the privileged executive mode, we have to enter a further password, which is Cisco. And now we're in. If we type enable, or rather configure using the terminal, we are now in the configuration mode. And that is basic configuration of a router. Thank you for listening or viewing another lesson in configuring routers.